instead. Okay, so all right, so we'll get started now. So sorry about that to the two of you in office hours right now. But essentially what we're doing is we're going over the week 2, day 2 quest, where we had to modify the kibble.cdc contract. And in order to do that, the quest had us, it wanted us to modify the deposit function, and it wanted us to modify the min tokens function. And this is to get our day 2 kibble min tokens action card going. So Stats Guy asked, "Are you guys in the Zoom?" Yes, we. Oh, I guess he, I guess he can't hear me. So yes, we are in the Zoom. Okay, so yeah, so the reason that we want to, yeah, so the reason that we want to get the deposit function and the min tokens function going is because our first quest is to get the kibble min tokens going. And if you think about what minting is, right? First it mints the tokens and then it deposits them into an account, which is why we want to get the min tokens and deposit going. So we did some of this off Zoom because we weren't recording yet. But essentially what's happening here is, we just walked through the first 3 steps, and they're pretty straightforward. So the first one had said convert from, which is this variable, from at fungible token.vault to a new variable called vault of type at kibble.vault using as. So the as syntax is new to you, which is why I put like a very descriptive comment here. And all this is doing is this is a force cast operator. So it's taking an at fungible token.vault and purposefully converting it to an at kibble.vault. And there's a very specific reason that we're doing this, and I'll go over this in a second once we get to step 4. And so that, yeah, it might not be as obvious with the comments that I wrote, and I'm realizing now that maybe it would have been a better exercise to have you figure this out on your own. But as a side note, the quests this week are supposed to be pretty short, just to help you guys catch up. So the second one here said add the balance inside vault to this vault. So because we're depositing, and we want to increase the balance of our current vault, which is self.balance. What we're going to do is do self.balance equals self.balance plus the vault.balance, which is here. Now, remember, when we move a resource, like this, we're moving from to vault. When we move a resource like this, it's no longer accessible, right? So from no longer exists. It's in vault. So we would do vault.balance here. And so this adds it to our vault, right? Then the third one was to emit tokens deposited. And so, we're going to emit tokens deposited, which is defined up here at the top of our contract. So tokens deposited, and it takes in an amount and a to. So the amount is like the amount of tokens that we deposited, and the to is like to which address we actually deposited it to. So let's go back down. And the amount is going to be, the amount that we deposited. So vault.balance. Okay, cool. And then 2, so I'll go over this again because this can get a little complicated. So for 2, it wanted us to put in an address optional type. So with any resource that you're in, like, right now we're currently in this public resource vault. There's an implicit field here that's you can't really see that it's defined, but it always will be. That's called self.owner. And this represents the owner of the current resource that we're in. And you can access the address of this by doing .address. Now, the only trick here is that because it actually wants us to put an address of optional type, we can simply do that just by doing self.owner ? And then .address will return either nil or an address, which is exactly what an address optional will be. Then this is where, so step 4 is why we did step 1. And let me explain this. So in step 4, we set the vault's balance to 0.0. So let's do vault.balance equals 0.0. Now, I want you to think for a second about what this is doing and why this matters in terms of access modifiers, okay? So this is write scope, right? We're changing vault.balance equal to 0.0. Now, this is possible because of the fact that if we scroll up, public var balance, right, has the pub access modifier. Now think back to day 1 here. What does this mean for the public's write scope? Does this mean, I'll actually ask this and look for a response here, so feel free to answer this. But what does this mean if this has a public access modifier? What is the write scope for that? And you can answer either in the office hours text or in the Zoom.
the scope is anywhere within the contract?
Oh, close. So the public actually is current and inner. So if this said like access, if this said like public set, then yeah, this would be, you could write it anywhere you want it. It could be in the contract, it could be, outside of it. But if it's public, that means that the write scope is actually the current and inner scope, which means that if this is defined here, then anywhere inside this vault, we can write to it. So thank you for answering, and it was super close. So you can kind of see why, we're allowed to write here, right? Because we have a vault of type kibble.vault, which is this vault, we're in kibble and then .vault. And so we're allowed to change the balance of this vault to 0.0. Now let's actually take a step back and let's assume that we didn't do this step, okay? So let's say we didn't do this and we changed this to from.balance, and this is from because vault doesn't exist in this scenario. And let's say we tried to do this, right? Let's say we tried to change from.balance equal to 0.0. This wouldn't work. And the reason this won't work is because from is of type @fungible_token.vault. Now let's actually go on GitHub and look up the GitHub onFlow fungible token contract. And let's look at this for a second. And I've gone to this link about maybe 3,000 times, but let's look at this together. So this is the fungible token contract. And let's scroll down to where it says vault, right? So this is it right here. This is of type fungible token.vault. Now, if we look at the balance, you'll see that this balance also has an access modifier of pub, right? So this is the balance that we're trying to access right here, from.balance. Now, the reason this won't work is because this public var balance, this pub access modifier, means we can only write to this balance in the current and inner scope of where this is defined. So only in here. So that means that if we're an entirely separate contract called Kibble, this will never work because the write scope doesn't include other contracts like Kibble in this example. So hopefully that makes sense why we, converted this to a vault, variable here of type @kibble.vault so that we can change it, down here. Now you might be asking, well, why are we even changing the vault's balance to 0? Why don't we just destroy it? And I'll answer that as well. So let me just change these back so that this works. So you'll see here that right here, destroy, right? If we destroy, this is saying that, it'll take the kibble.total supply and it will equal kibble.total supply minus self.balance. So if we simply didn't set the balance to 0 here and just destroyed it, it would take away from the kibble's total supply. Like, let's say, for example, that we didn't do this step. And let's say that at this point in time, the vault's balance is 100. And we just destroyed it down here, right? So let's say we just destroyed vault. What it's going to do actually is run this code because we destroyed a vault. And this is what we run when we destroy it. So it's going to take away 100 from the kibble.total supply. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, it's bad because we took those 100 tokens and we deposited them into this other vault. So we didn't actually burn them in any way. It's still in the total supply. It's just simply in a different vault now. So this is why we have to set the balance to 0 before we destroy it. Because if we set the balance to 0 and then destroy it here, what's going to happen is it'll run this destroy function, but it'll take away 0 here, which is exactly what we want. So hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, of course, feel free to ask about it, in the office hours text or in Zoom or whatever works. So this should complete our deposit function inside the vault. All right. So in order to, get this action card, this mint tokens action card running or working, we have to also write if we scroll down here, the mint tokens function. So let's scroll through this as well. So it says the to do is to delete the line below and implement this function. Okay, so let's just delete this line. And also I had these lines here just so that, you wouldn't get like a contract deployment error because you have to return something. So we'll delete this line. And the first thing is to add a precondition to make sure amount is greater than 0. So, if the comments weren't here, the hope was that, you would recognize that, why would we ever want to mint, negative amount of tokens? It's just not possible. So we'll check that amount is greater than 0.0. And if it's not, we'll say we have a problem. Oh, well, okay. So step 2 is going to be update kibble.total supply by adding amount. So this is pretty simple. We'll just update kibble.total supply equals kibble.total supply plus amount. Cool. And the reason we're doing this is because, when we mint tokens, we want to update the total amount of kibble that's in this ecosystem. The next step is we're going to emit tokens minted. So we're just doing this to, let whatever client might be, polling through our events to see if tokens are minted. And let's see what tokens takes in. So tokens minted takes in an amount, and we're assuming that's probably just the amount that's minted. So let's scroll down, and we'll say that the amount is just amount. And lastly, we're going to return a vault with balance equal to amount. So we're going to return, create a new vault where the balance is amount. All right. And this makes sense because we're returning an at kibble.vault, and this is exactly what we're creating here. So hopefully, unless I screwed up somewhere, which is definitely possible, we're going to save this, and the contract should redeploy. And look, yep, I definitely made a mistake. So where did I make a mistake? Events can only be invoked in an emit statement. Oh, that is not put emit. Oh, well, there we go. So there we go. You have to put emit. Okay, let's see if this runs. So if this deploys, we're going to try our mint kibble function, and then that would conclude week 2, quest 3, I think. All right. So it compiled successfully. Let's try and get the balance, get the supply. So there's 0 in the total ecosystem. And let's go to day 2, kibble mint tokens. So we're going to go here. We're just going to mint it into the admin account simply because that's what I set up over here. So we'll mint 30 into the admin account, and we'll see if this works. So we get a sweet gold star, and then the actual check is to make sure this updated, which it did. And now there's 30 kibble in both the admin account and in the total supply. So if you can do this and this works, that means that you successfully completed week 2, quest 3. All right. Let's move on to the next quest. So the next quest, which was week 2, quest 4, I think I called it end withdraw 2, is this. So we have to implement this function. And then if we can get the day 2 kibble mint tokens action card, or no, the day 2 kibble transfer tokens action card working, then we've correctly done our quest for week 2, day 2. All right. So let's follow the instructions and delete the line below. And let's go to this step. All right, so we're withdrawing from this vault, and all we know is that we're returning a fungible token out of vault. So we're going to take away amount balance from this vault. All right, so self.balance equals self.balance minus amount. All right, we've taken away that amount from the vault. We're going to emit tokens withdrawn. Let's see what this takes in. If we scroll up here, it takes in an amount that we're withdrawing and a from. So who are we withdrawing from? And that should be very similar to what we saw in deposit. So amount is going to be amount, and from is going to be self.owner (address). And this is very similar to what we defined, in the deposit function. And then our last step here is to return a new vault with the balance equal to amount. So we'll return a new vault with balance equal to amount. We'll save this. And hopefully, if nothing went wrong, this should compile, or this should deploy correctly. And then we'll try our function. Sweet. Let's go back to here. So get balance, view, view. And I'm going to purposefully try and get an error here to ask you guys what might be wrong. So let's try and transfer 10 kibble from the admin to Alice, and we're going to get an error. So the error is could not borrow the receiver's reference to the recipient's vault. So to all you debuggers out there, what do you think this could mean? And I'll give you a hint. This has nothing to do with the contract we just wrote. It has something to do with the recipient. So what step did I forget to do here? I see BZ is answering. You have to set up Alice account. Perfect. Perfect answer. So we have to actually set up the Alice account. So if you're seeing an error like that, it's because you forgot to set up the recipient account, or maybe you forgot to set up the transfer account, but you wouldn't have gotten through this stage if that was the case. So yes, we forgot to set up Alice's account. So we'll submit this transaction. We should see a nice gold star, which we do. And let's try and get the supply. So the total supply should be the same, right? No matter who we're transferring to or whatever it is, the total supply should always remain the same, which it is. It remains at 30. And the get balance, we should see 20 for the admin because we just transferred 10 away. And for Alice, we should see 10 because we, transferred 10 into Alice's account. So bada bing, bada boom, we have done day 2. It's wraps. All right. Anyone's got any questions about that? Ask away. Otherwise, I can just field questions you may have about, dApp Starter in general or about the contracts, specifically if you have a question, we can walk through it together. So I'll just wait to see if anyone has any questions before I go on. And I could also start going over some day 3 content if people are curious in that too.
Hey, Jacob, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm a bit late, so I'm still doing day 1. Just followed your video and I ran yarn start the thing compiled, but I'm seeing error messages that my contracts aren't deployed. So I'm just making sure that I probably need to implement them before I see the app in the way that it shows on your video. Is that correct?
So you're on day 1, right? Where you just generated the project and you're trying to get clone it, and then
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be getting any errors for day 1. So that means that something must have gone wrong, and we can definitely debug that together so we can get you going. But for day 1, you actually don't have to touch the contracts. It should, in an ideal world, it should load up by itself without any errors, but we can tackle that together.
Okay. I think I can put the sort of the error codes on the Discord server, and then we can.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. So while you're doing that, BZ says, do you have an idea of why there may be a difference between pseudo yarn start and yarn start? I experienced that dApp config is written differently when choosing one over the other. Pseudo yarn start, some contracts are missing. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure why that may be. There's a chance it's for some other reason than pseudo. Like maybe it's just have you noticed that every single time you do pseudo yarn start, it's missing? I think because you were saying it worked with pseudo yarn start before, right? It was missing every time. It's very weird. It looks like Alex Z in the Burning Questions channel says that it just seems to be an occasional issue, and honestly, that might be the case. Yeah, it's also weird because I mean, I've probably been using dApp Starter for my projects for, maybe like 9 to, actually no, more like a year at this point. And after the first time I had problems with yarn start, I never experienced them again. So I hope that's the case for you, and it goes away eventually. But I will say that to address this, a bunch of people have been having problems with yarn and yarn start. And that's, obviously something that we want to get rid of. And so one of our, team members, he's awesome. He's been working for a few months now, actually, to try and figure out a way to get people away from the yarn and the yarn start thing, so that once they get cloned the project onto the computer, they don't have to install any of the dependencies. It's completely in the cloud, and they can start it up, and it will just work, which is so cool to me.
This is Nick. I apologize for any background noise. I'm actually mobile and my puppies are with me in the car here. But I saw the comment about running sort of pseudo yarn start versus yarn start. I mean, fundamentally, those are unrelated problems to dApp Starter. It basically means that there is a permissions problem on your machine, and yarn. The reason you have to run sudo is because due to the permission problems with the folder, whenever the scripts are running, they are unable to write, create, edit files, etc. So it's actually a problem that you can potentially just troubleshoot separate of DAppStarter, separate of Yarn, by just examining the folder permissions and making sure that they are correct. I will post when I'm at my keyboard. There's some, both on Mac and Windows, there's a standard command you can use to reset the permissions on the folder, because for whatever reason, sometimes, especially if you are not doing git clone and you've unzipped, this is especially true if you've unzipped versus done a git clone. The operating system always, when you get a zip from the internet, flags those as lock files, that because they are from the internet, and so you have to go through a special dialog to unlock them. So that's generally the case with permission. Of course, if you use git clone, that is not the problem. But 99.9% of the time when I've been troubleshooting and you need to use sudo, it's got nothing to do with Yarn, it's got nothing to do with DAppStarter. It's plain and simple permissions on your folder.
Yeah, thank you, Nick, for answering that question. So I see a stats guy. So I see your screenshot. Thank you for saying that. What you can, what you can try first is try what BZ said. Try Yarn test and see what happens. If that doesn't work, then I think I might know what the error is, and we can walk through it together on my screen. But yeah, just try that Yarn test first. But we actually encountered a very similar problem that you're having this morning, and we ended up figuring out the error, or the person that was having the problem ended up figuring out the error, which was super helpful for us.
I just ran Yarn test and I'm getting command failed with exit code 1. I'll send the error message on the Discord.
Okay, yeah, that's expected. Thank you for trying that. So if you actually this you're on Windows, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you go into if you open up your project code and you go into packages/dapplib/source and then go into the rhythm.js file, what you can do is, if you don't mind, scrolling down to line 92.
Jacob, you could share your screen and go show
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I can't see, so I apologize.
That's okay. So if you scroll down to line 92, right here where it says contract/project, if you change this slash to I always forget the terminology. Is this a double backslash or is it /? I have no idea. I think it's a double backslash.
I get confused by that as well.
Yeah, right. And I honestly don't understand them at all, because what's forward and what's backwards, I don't know. But if you change this to a double backslash and then, so do that and then scroll down to line 212. And if you change this to, let me look here. So if you change this / to a double backslash, this one as well, and this one, so there's 3 of them, this should make it Windows compatible, and hopefully this will fix the problem. So if you save that file and try again, it should work.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm gonna run this and I'll let you know.
Sweet, sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we'll be this is a pretty common problem we've seen with Windows, and so we'll be fixing that soon. When a dev puts BZ asked a question, when a dev puts a smart contract to the registry, to the new composable standard, how much % will Decentology take for transaction fees, and how much will go to the dev? So that's a great question. And honestly, Nick would, as always, give a much better answer than me. But the answer that I'm going to give is we're not entirely sure yet. And it's still, a process that's being talked about. And we're definitely, still having conversations around that. So we're not entirely sure yet.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And also, please consider that when that happens and we have the monetization in place, as a corporate entity, we will have moved out of that and into a DAO model. So the governance of that and figuring that out is going to come from the community itself. It won't be us as a corporate entity deciding that. That's going to come, the community is going to decide what that is. And in the DAO structure, whatever the governance structure is, there'll probably be some kind of committee that has to make that decision.
Yep.
Jacob, thanks for your help. My thing works now.
Oh, it does?
Pretty impressed that you were able to figure it out super quick.
Oh no, yeah, trust me, I wish I was that smart, but we had someone with this exact problem this morning, and I was completely stumped, and the participant ended up figuring it out themselves, so they get all the credit. But trust me, I wish I was that smart.
Thank you again. I'm excited to get started on week 2. Like week 1, my reaction when we were able to deploy the first marketplace and like draw those NFTs and just put them on the marketplace, that was like a wow moment. Like, whoa, all right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So pretty excited for what we could do with it with DAppStarter. So thanks.
Awesome.
Guys.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll enjoy the experience. I will say that, last week that Morgan did such a good job. It was so rewarding. This week the quests are definitely not going to take as long. I heard that some people were spending 7-8 hours on the quest last week. You're definitely going to find that the quests are a lot shorter this week, and it's to hopefully catch people up. But yeah, it should be fun developing on DAppStarter.
Yeah, thanks.
BC said I like your reaction. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would be like such a cool, that'd be such a cool thing to have, where someone has an error and you just like immediately are like, yeah, you gotta double backslash. That'd be sick, but unfortunately I'm not that good yet. Maybe someday.
Double backslash or double forward slash. We're still not sure on that yet.
Yeah, no one knows yet. Yeah, we still don't know. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So yeah, so what we could do is we could either go over the other 2 contracts here, or we can start going over week 2, day 3 content. And I'm gonna mute myself for just a second, but I'll be back in like 10 seconds. I just gotta close the door. All right, I'm back. I'm also surprised that the recording is working on this computer. It's nice. For waiting with, oh yeah, yep, totally understand. And sometimes it's good to work through it by yourself to learn more. You honestly learn a lot more that way. We can talk more about DAppStarter. It sounded like you wanted to say something about it. Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna talk about it in case anyone was curious. But the truth is that you're gonna discover a lot more about it within the readmes and the content that we're releasing over the next few days. So it's not too urgent, and we're honestly gonna end up covering it all anyway in office hours that are coming up. So I think it's a good idea by you to wait on that. So one thing actually I will bring up is, on Monday, I introduced contract interfaces, and I was wondering if you guys had any questions about that. Because in Kibble, you see that we're implementing the fungible token contract interface, and in Kitty items, we're also implementing the the non-fungible token contract interface. And you'll see there's a lot of like patterns we see here where this resource implements this non-fungible token.inft, and you'll see that, this collection, implements the non-fungible token provider and all that stuff. And I was wondering if any of you had any questions about this this kind of paradigm, because it's definitely like a new concept to Cadence. Also, I see the KR. So KR is actually the one that found out this error. So KR is the genius here.
And embarrassingly enough, I'm the cause. So when I wrote that rhythm.js, I was under a lot of time pressure and obviously overlooked it. But I will be fixing and pushing out that fix tonight, so that next time you generate, this won't be a problem.
Sweet.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody. I'll also say thanks to KR in the chat.
Yeah, KR is a legend. There's like 5K repo of DAppStarter who are making those. Well, a good question. But DAppStarter is definitely not something that's I mean, I guess it's relatively new, but DAppStarter has been a thing, way before this this bootcamp. So a bunch of people have been, developing on DAppStarter. Before we had this huge influx of participants into our Discord, we had a bunch of other developers and people using our platform. And I see Nick, did you? Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
I was about to say we are blockchain agnostic. So we support a bunch of EVMs, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, Conflux, and we also support Solana, and we've had some hackathons, workshops, etc. So adoption and use of DAppStarter has been steadily growing, and we expect that once we roll out the cloud container feature here in very short order, that's going to explode, because it'll literally be seconds after you generate that you can get it running, and all this pain around Yarn will be gone.
I can't wait for that. So when one uses DAppStarter and want to push to Git, should you fork your DAppStarter? How would it work? Well, I think in an ideal scenario, you would probably fork the repo, to wherever you wanted. So yeah, that's a very short answer, but yes. That like DAppStarter page or all those repos are really just generated, but yeah, it's definitely encouraged that you would fork the repo and just work on it separately.
Yeah, I kind of want to, like, since we all developers here, wanted to touch a little bit upon why we do it the way we do it. So one of the smoothest and easiest things we could have done is to require that authentication that happens on the DAppStarter page to just limit it to GitHub, and then drop that repo directly into your account. But the problem is that if we do that, you'd use OAuth, obviously, and part of the GitHub OAuth process of allowing us to do that is so extreme in the types of permissions it requires us to ask for. It basically says can control all repositories in your account, can delete any repository in your account, etc. And we were like, well, if we are a developer and we go to an app and we do that, we're going to say no. So because no developer is going to want to give an arbitrary app that much control to their account. And so we decided, all right, we'll do it this way. While it is slightly inconvenient for developers, it definitely beats people walking away from using it, because the permission required are so extreme. So that's why we are doing it this way.
I'm currently trying to delete the 1 minute office hours we had before the Zoom call on the YouTube. Flappy Bird. Oh yeah, no, that's actually a really good suggestion because we have to make sure that for every one of these office hours that the thumbnail is Flappy Bird, or else we didn't do it right. So hopefully it'll select this as the thumbnail.
Yeah, on this one, when I'll upload it to YouTube, I will make sure that it not only has Flappy Bird, but I will put your face as a Flappy Bird face. So
I love that. Also, wow. Okay, I have multiple things to say. No, we were so close to 10, but also, I think it's really funny because when I was doing that video, I was like, oh, I'll put like a joke in here, and I love that it's like become an actual like thing now. Like in, in every office hours we have, or like people will DM me being like, I love the Flappy Bird, and I'm like, I'm so glad.
it's a meme.
Yeah, it's a meme at this point. Also, BC's suggestion to use the spacebar was huge because I was using my trackpad, and now that I'm using the spacebar, we're seeing rapid improvements.
So next, Jacob, we have to have you put Chrome in offline mode and play that dinosaur.
Oh no,
that's on the Chrome.
that game is so fun.
Yeah.
I love that game. The little dinosaur that jumps over the bushes and stuff. Yeah, I love that. Also, for everyone that's been tuning into office hours, you know that my goal has been to hit 10.
That seems to be like a significant downgrade from the 70 that you were claiming on day one. So
Yeah,
just,
but in all
just
fairness,
pointing that out. That's
yeah,
all.
no, very fair, but that was on my phone. And on the phone, it's so much easier because you can just use your thumb. And for some reason, I'm telling you on the phone, the Flappy Bird, like whatever it's called, character model is so much smaller. Although I have confidence that by the end of week 3, we should be able to hit 70. Maybe that'll be our goal.
I think hitting 70 is harder than creating your D up with Dub Starter at least.
True. Yeah, maybe should that be our slogan?
Easier than hitting 70 on Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
I see that, Ragu.
This game is so addicting. Little fun fact, to anyone that didn't know this, they actually took Flappy Bird off the App Store because it was so addicting that people were doing like crazy things that I won't say, but they were doing like, people were getting so crazy about it that the owner, like that made Flappy Bird, the developer, like freaked out and like had to take it off the App Store because it was that addicting. Already 18. Yeah, I'm telling you, I used the space bar and we're so close. Also, I have to hit 70 now because now Nick's making fun of me. So it has to happen or I'll never reclaim my honor. Fast Floward, the boot camp where I lost my honor and dignity. I felt so proud when I just did 11. I thought I'd be. Yeah, no, you're never beating me ever.
Well, it might be the pressure of trying to do it live. So we will accept for tomorrow's office hours a video recording of you achieving that goal.
We might have to make the for week 3, we might have to make the final quest 70 on Flappy Bird. Can you imagine how much time people would spend on that? That'd be harder than any quest.
It should be that every time you go through one of those whatever you call the gap, it mints an NFT in the background.
Yeah. Well, last week with Morgan's website, that one person that made like, I think they made like 50 or so pictures, like each letter of the alphabet, and then they made them all capitalized. I'm pretty sure that person would definitely commit to 70 because they love minting the NFTs. Hopefully that's enough gameplay to make the thumbnail. But yeah, we got 8 minutes left here. So we're gonna start wrapping things up. But as a sneak peek, the week 2, day 3 stuff is already out. I'm working on the day 4 content today. That's going to include the UI harness and the action cards and how to actually, get these to appear and stuff and how they're calling the dapplib and all that. So that's going to come out tomorrow. But oh my God, he hit 22. That's not okay. That's not okay. All right, I'm loading it back up. You're done for. Now that now that I have now I can't lose. Hold on, I gotta pay attention now. That BZ is so nervous right now that I'm about to beat him. Oh my no! You got too cocky. You know what I would do is next office hours I'm gonna do that dinosaur game. I totally forgot about that game.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Yeah. That game gets so fast at one point. I used to play that all the time in high school when I was bored in class. I have a good feeling about this one, actually. I'm pretty sure in the mobile game, you could also change your bird to have like a different skin. I actually think that the guy who minted all this 5/5 maybe didn't know the DApp was on test set. Oh, he just found the link from Rohan's tweet. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was just genuinely excited, but I guess it was I guess he thought it was free money. That's really funny. I love the dedication though, and the persistence. It's good. Well, minutes sound like it based on his message in general. Are you available later for the Yeah. Yep. So after this office hours, I'm gonna be working on a lot of the day 4 content, and we'll also work on that BZ. So for anyone watching this, next week we're gonna be starting to think about how we can get our own projects started, and we're gonna start implementing our own contracts. We're gonna introduce smart contract composability, which will be a great option if you want to, write your smart contracts using that standard. Otherwise, we're just going to be working on our own projects. So start thinking about what projects you'll want to create, maybe how you'll create them, given your knowledge about dApp Starter and Flow so far. But if you want, please feel free to reach out to me about, maybe stuff that you've been thinking about. Maybe you want to make your own marketplace. Maybe you want to make your own NFT. Whatever it may be, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll start, talking about how we can get those architectural decisions down, and start making your project a real thing. So I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. I'm going to stop the recording for office hours, and we'll conclude office hours there if no one else has any questions.